And we turn now once again to the topic of the ongoing Iranian nuclear negotiations, with just hours to go before a deadline that has been set by the parties here. Of course, some reports coming out this morning from CBS News that that deadline could be extended for a couple hours on some of these sticking points.
President Obama and John Kerry have said distrust but verify, and I think that's probably a much better motto with respect to the Islamic Republic of Iran, which has a decades-long track record of nuclear mendacity. They've been lying about their program, they've been hiding their program, they've engaged in weaponization activities that they refuse to come clean on with the International Atomic Energy Agency. So I think the entire international community, the United States, our Europeans, all our allies, don't believe that this is a regime that they can trust. But they want to build a nuclear deal that has certain constraints built into it and a verification inspection regime that at least can diminish the possibility that Iran will build a nuclear weapon.
As we said, hours to go before this deadline. It might be extended by a few hours. But if a deal doesn't come together, the consequences for the U.S. and Iran?
Well, again, we have to remember that this deadline of March 31st was an artificial deadline that was really imposed by the negotiators themselves. The Supreme Leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, sees the United States as his greatest strategic threat. That hasn't changed. What has changed with the Supreme Leader, as he has said in a speech a couple of years ago, is that they're going to show heroic flexibility, but it'll be tactical flexibility. They will make technical changes and show flexibility on the nuclear side in order to actually gain regionally. And I think that the administration has been rightly obsessed with Iran's nuclear breakout capacity, but in the interim, the Iranians have engaged in a regional breakout. This is a harsh enemy. It's an enemy that actually, of the United States and of liberal democracy, we have to engage them. We have no choice. We can't actually pretend that they're going to go away. But we have to reach a nuclear compromise with this regime that actually constrains their program. And for that, I support the president in that policy. Iran refuses to acknowledge that they've engaged in weaponization activities. For those who want peace, what we don't want is an Iran with a nuclear weapon. An Iran with a nuclear weapon would set off a cascade of proliferation in the Middle East. It would lead to multiple Arab countries with nuclear weapons, or at least threshold capability, a turn of the screw away from having nuclear weapons. The reality is that is probably one of the main sticking points right now in Switzerland. They're trying to negotiate exactly this phased nature of the sanctions relief. And so we don't know the details, but we do know this. The Obama administration's position is that they have to keep some form of economic leverage in the form of UN sanctions, US sanctions, and EU sanctions, because the only other way to respond to Iranian non-compliance will either be to accept it and allow the Iranians a pathway to nuclear weapon, or to use military force to forestall that possibility. I think all of us can agree that is not what we want to see. This deal is a bet on verification and inspection. It's a bet on our ability to detect whether the Iranians are engaging in clandestine nuclear facilities. And as the former deputy director of the IAEA, Ali Heinonen, said, if Iran wasn't engaging in clandestine nuclear facilities today, it would be the first time in 20 years that they haven't.